NFL Week 9, we're talking Chargers, Browns, but first I want to talk to you about a special at Wager Talk this week. This week only, $50 off the rest of the season. College football or NFL, handicapper of your choice using coupon code FBALL50. That's $50 off either college football or NFL, handicapper of your choice, and that special is good the rest of the week. Coupon code FBALL50. Okay, let's talk about Chargers, Browns. I bet on both of these teams last week. One went well, which was actually the video play here that did it. These video plays have been extremely well. Standalone YouTube video plays for me have been awesome this year, have been probably the highlight of football season, certainly of the NFL season. And I went 3-0 in them last week. There's 3 of them up this week. The only NFL game we're talking about is this one. But we did talk about the Browns last week. That was a client play. Ended up upgrading it to a client play. Everyone in the chat said no chance the Browns are going to win. And sure enough, the Browns came out and knocked off the Ravens in an upset victory. Now, I'd be looking to go the other way this week. I think we got our money with the Browns last week. If you watch my analysis, a lot of that had to do with wanting to play against the Ravens as well. If you remember, the Ravens came off of a very grueling, tough Monday Night Football game, 41-38 final, up and down the field, road game down in Tampa. And I thought that that might be an issue for them having to turn around and play somewhat not healthy. You know, the Ravens also don't have a great defense. That's not going to be a problem for the Chargers. We'll get into that in a minute. But, you know, the Ravens have been subpar defensively. And then you take a couple of guys out of their secondary due to injury. And that was always a spot they were going to struggle. And the Browns took advantage and won that game. Now, the Chargers are not going to have that issue. This is a really good defensive Chargers team. And I found out the hard way last week. I thought the Saints were a great bet at +7, +7.5. But they had their backup quarterback, and it proved to be a problem because Spencer Rattler had no answer. I quickly regretted that as I watched that game and realized that he was completely overmatched against that Chargers defense. And, you know, the Saints, part of the reason I wanted to play against the Chargers last week was all of those good offensive players back for the Saints. But without a quarterback, you're probably not going to beat this Chargers team. And that's kind of why I worry for the Browns here. So Jameis Winston, in my opinion, is an upgrade over Deshaun Watson. But Jameis Winston would still not start for most teams in this league. So that's where I'm starting to sort of make a case for the Chargers, is the fact that, like, even though Jameis Winston was better than Watson and was able to lead the Browns to a win against a Ravens team that just hasn't been great defensively and was not great defensively last week, now he's going to have to do it against a Chargers defense that borders on being one of the elite units in the league. And, you know, go back to last week. I mean, the Browns get out with a win, but Jameis got a little bit lucky. He threw a ball that probably should have been intercepted. And if that ball gets picked off, the Ravens are going to win that game. So, again, good fortune for the Browns last week. They played good enough to win, but a lot of that had to do, in my opinion, with the Ravens just not playing a great game and not being in a great position to play a great game. This is going to be much tougher. You're going to have a Chargers team that is strong against the run. They cover receivers downfield. And that's when I realized I was probably in trouble last week because Spencer Rattler could not make the necessary throws, the easier throws, you know, the throws over the middle that you need to make to beat this Chargers team. And that's where I fear Jameis Winston will get in trouble here. The other place that's going to be a trouble spot for the Browns is the fact that their offensive line is now banged up once again. If you go back to the early portion of the season, we were betting against this Browns team regularly. And a big reason for that was the offensive line and having guys out, having more than one offensive lineman out. You know, Nick Chubb is back now, but again, that doesn't really matter if you don't have a good offensive line. And it also doesn't really matter against a Chargers team that's very good against the run. So, again, those are my big-time concerns here for the Browns. On the other side of the ball, I'm not sold on the Chargers offensively. That's another reason I bet against LA last week. I didn't really think their offense in its current state justified laying the 7.5 points that the Chargers were laying last week. But they did get McConkey back. He was questionable going into that game. And this Browns team is also banged up defensively and also just hasn't been as good. You know, this was a Browns defense that was arguably they were arguably the best defense in the league last year. At least they rated out as a top defense in a lot of metrics last year. And that just has not been the case this year. For whatever reason, the injuries on defense, Myles Garrett playing through injuries at times. Now they've got injuries in the secondary. The defense has been an issue as well for the Browns. I think the Browns had their moment last week, but here, and just think about this too. Last week, catching almost 8-9 points, they covered all numbers, no problem. They win the game. Here, now you're asking them to have to win the game, and that's where I have a hard time. That's where I think the Chargers are the right side here. And if I can stomach the Chargers in a East Coast 1 p.m. kickoff, it ends up becoming a play for me. I have not bet this yet, but this is one that is on my radar. I do expect to give the Chargers a very hard look from now until Sunday, and this one might be one that makes my card. I did post a client play. I posted 3 Wager Talk YouTube videos. They're all up on the Wager Talk YouTube channel for this week, so please like and subscribe. Give us a follow there so you can find all of my video plays, and we can continue bringing you these video plays. Again, there is a client bet in one of these videos in the Virginia Tech-Syracuse game, so check that out. And for all of my stuff, head on over to Wager Talk, wt.buzz/AT. I am on Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok. Same handle, AdamTriggerWT. Use coupon code FBALL50 for $50 off of my college football or NFL the rest of the season. And let's have a great weekend. Cash some tickets. We'll see you guys next week.